Miami should have one of the strongest offensive lines in the country this year, and we know they had one of the best ever back in 2001. Let's talk to the anchor of that O-line.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Dono, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC, and writer for Canes County at Rivals. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen or your second listen and your second watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today, with our very special guest, we'll talk about championship memories. We'll talk offensive line, past, present, and future. And I'm so excited today, and I'm not just excited because the truth teller is back. And this is like the third time you've been here this week.
Third time this week, man. I got to get a raise, man. You got to give me a raise.
I'm going to give you a and you actually make some money now. So if I make the old joke about 100% raise, it's no longer 100% of zero.
Right,
So
all right. So you said something about one of the best. How about 0 sacks?
Yeah.
Bryant, no sacks McKinnie. He's our guest today, and we're thrilled to have him. What's up, my friend? How are you? Thanks for taking the time.
Oh, thank you. I was supposed to be here yesterday, but I made it. I made it today.
I'm off the hook. I didn't want to get blamed for you not being there. And I said,
right. I apologize.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
Oh, you're good. And even though like people were expecting Bryant to be with us yesterday, I don't think anyone was upset because like they're not going to tell a man of Bryant McKinnie's size what day he's going to show up. They're good with whatever day you can be here. And of course, I saw, of course, we all watched Bryant's incredible career at Miami and in the NFL. And I also had a chance to catch up with you a couple years ago at a Legends camp at Miami. I'd love your take, Bryant, on the fact that Mario Cristobal, who you knew previously, is now the head coach, who's an offensive lineman at heart. Alex Mirabal is one of the best in the business. I mean, Miami really now has an offensive line centric program there, right?
They do, and I like it because that was an area where we struggled a lot in the past. So to be able to see that get fixed, and by myself being an offensive lineman, that's one thing I want to see get fixed. Is the offensive line, which buys more time. I always tell people this: the offensive line is the engine and the vehicle. The quarterback is the driver. The receiver, the running back, and tight end, they're the wheels. You know what I'm saying? But you can't go anywhere without the engine cranking up. So you need the offensive line to go out here and move people out the way and do their job. So I'm happy to see that the offensive line is on a good track.
Yeah, and also, as you know from playing at Miami, the defensive line, because the trenches were really Miami's history of winning championships. Right. So, and the defensive line didn't look too good last year. So we have a new coordinator. Now you got Damian Lewis there along with Jason Taylor. I'm expecting.
And that was a former teammate of mine as well. Damian was a former teammate of mine as well. My time in Miami. To me, I feel like the defensive line was, pretty good. I don't feel like they were too bad. I'm sure they can improve, with the new coaching and everything. I feel like the secondary was a little more of the weaker area for me on the defense. That kind of looked to me that struggled the most.
Yeah, but as I was saying, and I had, I'm friendly with Mark Caesar and Sapp and those guys, and they all tell me the same thing. They didn't like how the D-line played last year. They want to attack. They want to go up the field, get in the backfield, cause problems. They didn't really do that. So I think that's one of the reasons why they made the change. This guy now is very aggressive, and he just wants these guys to turn it up. And so you got Damian there with Jason Taylor. I expect there to be a lot more pressure on their quarterback, which helps the secondary. Even if these guys this year are better than last year's guys, that has to help. Your thoughts on that? Because you used to go up against great defensive linemen that you had on the 2000.
I did. You have two guys that are a defensive end and a defensive tackle who can give great insight, to that D-line. So I feel like it has no choice but to get better. Damian Lewis was a great defensive tackle for us. So I expect to see him, teach those guys a lot of things. He just came from Colorado, and he basically, him and Sat work together. So I'm pretty sure he learned some things from Warren as well. So I do expect the D-line to raise their level of play.
Bruce hinted on something there, and this is actually one of the questions that I keep getting from our Locked On Canes listeners that want me to ask you. when you're on 2000, 2001 team at Miami, who were the toughest D linemen you went up against in practice? Who gave you? I mean, I don't know if anybody gave you too many problems, but who were the toughest matchups for you in practice?
Normally in practice, I would go against as far as the starters, I would go against like Jamal Green and Andrew Williams. But Jerome McDougal had such a great get off. So when it came to certain players, I would ask him to come over there sometimes and line up and work his get off against me just because he has such a good get off. So I feel like when I played against Freeney or just different people, I would ask Jerome to come over to my side and just, work on his get off so I can, get used to seeing it.
That's interesting. Okay. That's very interesting. So you're at Miami, you give up no sacks. While you're playing there, are you conscious of this all the time? The media keep talking about it?
I became conscious of it my senior year. I feel like the media was talking about it, but we were playing up in Florida State, and the defensive end had got a good get off on the ball, and I guess it looked like he was going to get around me, but I had did a last minute shove to push him past the quarterback. They were losing already, but then it's like their sideline erupted as if like a big play happened, but they thought that he was about to get to the quarterback, and I realized and then they always pointing at you he gonna get sacked today. And I was like, even though we're winning, I still have to have my own personal battle within this game because this is now about, we're not gonna win the game, but we're gonna get a sack. So now I was like, okay, I have to change my mindset. And I just had to kind of readjust in the middle of the game and moving forward. I realized, okay, we're beating people, but people still want to say they're the one who got the sack. So I just had to change my mindset in that game moving forward. Like, it's not even about like the overall win, but I still have a whole little mini battle within this. So I have to be aware of that. So that game made me aware of it when the sideline erupted, and I was like, what was going on? And it was all pointing at me. And I was like, oh wow. So okay, let me focus in. Don't get too comfortable. So that game, that moment is actually what changed my mindset of something I didn't really think too much about. I feel like I was just doing my job to realize that other people are now making this a thing. So
when you guys played Nebraska in the national championship game, you blew them out. Your toughest game that year was against Boston College, it seems like, right? That was
Boston College and Virginia Tech, maybe. I think it was like 2 games. Virginia Tech might have been another one too. I think Boston College was our last game. I actually got hurt in that game.
You did?
So I didn't play the whole game. I tore my meniscus in that game, and then I went and had surgery. I think that was the last game. So that kind of sucked being on the sideline and feel like you can't help your team because I went out at a certain point, and then all of a sudden it's like a close game, but we were able to pull through. But yeah, those were our 2 closest games. But I feel like you're always gonna have in a season where you're doing good, you're always gonna have those games. You got to find ways to win those games because you're gonna have those games where you feel like you might be looking a little ahead. You know what I mean? Because that was Boston College was our last game. It might have been looking ahead prematurely, and then here they're putting up a dogfight against us, and here we're like, how do we get out of this? And luckily, Matt Walters and Ed Reed kind of saved us in that game, and got us out of the trouble that we were facing.
Typical Miami. They just they don't give up. So you said you tore your ACL. Did you play in the Rose Bowl or not?
Yeah.
That was a blowout. That was not a great game. I mean, it was a great game to watch, but for us.
Yeah, I would say for Miami fans.
So are you keeping up with what's going on now? I mentioned off the air before about the left tackle, Bell. It's a big kid. You're a big guy. He had some issues last year with speed rushers. So you mentioned footwork. Explain to our listeners and viewers what you would need to do against a speed rush like that.
It's really about how you set. I have to really watch to see how he's setting out. He might be setting out too wide. I don't know if he's owning the snap count or not. I really have to study. When I'm watching the game, I do watch the left tackle a lot, but I also try to just watch the plays and everything develop. But as far as him, is really owning the snap count, especially if you're at home, when it's going to be snapped. And it's how he's setting too. I don't know how I would have to really go down and watch how he's setting. Mm-hmm. If he's setting vertical, that buys you a little more time. It helps keep the gap between you and the guard closed. Are you sitting out? You feel like you have to sit out. That means you're probably trying to rush. But if you want to sit out, it has to be like a 3-step. He has to just know football, really. You know what I'm saying? To know how you're going to set, if it's going to be a 3 or 5, a 7, whatever set drop. That determines your set. So
and you're picking it up on film. If you're watching game film, you kind of have an idea what what his
Well,
technique
yeah.
is.
Now you want to study like your opponent's tendencies of what they like to do, and then you during your week of practice, you get somebody to emulate that and kind of give you the looks that you may need.
Well, I don't know how anybody else on the opponent's teams emulated you. So I don't know when they did practice. I don't know how they got away with that.
Right.
Yeah, that's a tough thing to simulate. What you're 6'8", right? Is that what you were standing? I mean, that's
6'8",
good
yeah.
luck.
Good luck.
Well, I want to continue this awesome conversation. We have Bryant McKinnie with us, former Miami Hurricanes left tackle. When we come back, I want to talk more about that championship mentality. Oh, my friends, I know you're taking advantage of Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Masters program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. For your next listen, make sure you check out Locked On ACC. Kenton Gibbs and I have been covering the settlement between the ACC, Florida State, and Clemson, which actually opens the door for Miami and everybody else to make more revenue through the brand initiatives and success initiatives. So make sure you make Locked On ACC your second listen and your second watch today. We got Bryant McKinnie with us. So BMAC, first of all, 2001, I can remember even before the season started, hearing a quote from Joaquin Gonzalez, your teammate, about how, like, we're going to go undefeated this year, he said. You know, you had the bad taste of losing the one game in 2000, missing out on the championship game. So, like, right from the jump, you guys set the bar at undefeated, championship or bust. You also had the coaching change with Butch leaving and Larry Coker getting promoted. Like, how much pressure did you guys feel heading into that 2001 season?
Well, the theme after, the only time we cheered for Florida State was the year before when they went against Oklahoma and they lost, because we beat Florida in the Sugar Bowl, and if Florida State would have won, we would split the national championship. So after that game, the whole theme of the following season was about controlling your own destiny and not having to rely on anybody else. So in order to control our own destiny is we have to just win outright. So that was the mindset that everybody brought into going into the summer workouts. Just everything we did was about controlling our own destiny and not losing. Then, we had the meeting with Butch that came out of nowhere. We didn't know he was leaving. And at the time, Donna Shalala was coming in, and she planned on bringing Barry Alvarez in from Wisconsin. We were like, it's our senior years, like me, Ed Reed, Joaquin, like our senior year. Do we have time to learn a whole new offense, a whole new defense? Like, we were this close, last season. So we went up there to Paul D, kind of had like a little meeting with about 5 to 7 of us. And we kind of like voiced our opinion. I wasn't even sure if he really was listening to us. I just threw out there as we were leaving, like, well, I'll enter the supplemental draft. I'll leave. Like, just throw stuff out there, just see, like, because he had a poker face when we were up there talking to him. So it was like, I don't even know if he even cares what we're talking about. But clearly did, because then we ended up seeing that Coach Coker got hired and pretty much everybody was able to stay. So that was step one for us, is being able to keep the same coaching staff so we don't have to change anything or move any slower. So once we got that, then we made an agreement with Coach Coker. Hey, Coach Coker, instead of being in pads 2 times a week to keep us fresh, keep us in one a week, pads 1 day a week until we lose. And if we lose, then we could do 2 a week. So that was another thing he agreed with.
Wow, he bought into that. Oh, wow.
He bought into it, right. So Now it's like we as players have to police ourselves, execute, because now we're asking for all these things. So now we have to deliver on our end because we're
Yeah.
asking for all these favors. We got to deliver. So our off-season workouts just became like, on Saturdays that was extra work, but a lot of guys was going out there on their own and doing the extra, without the coaches. And we were competing because we felt like we were all like the best, like at our positions, so
Mm-hmm.
that was just how we felt. And we went out there and we competed against one another, like to the point where we said the game should be easier by the time we get to game day. It should be easy because all the work and all the hard practice and everything we done did against each other, we feel like we're the better athletes right now in the country. The game time should be easier. And that was our whole goal. If you ever really look at the schedule and the scoring, we always wanted to be up by at least like 2 to 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to give the guys behind us time to get on the field in the fourth quarter and get film and get experience. So by fourth quarter, it reads always like, okay, we need to be on the sideline and let the young guys get in. So that's how you had your Roscoe Parrish, you Sean Taylors and Kellen Winslow, all those guys who were behind like Shockey and Reed and everything. They were able to get in because we wanted to get a big enough gap so to get those guys some playing time as well. And as you can see, when we actually played Washington again, this time home, those guys still wanted to score and make plays for themselves too. They try to say it was like unsportsmanlike conduct. They are on the field. They want to make big plays. They want to be on the highlights. So therefore, when they have an opportunity, they're going to score. Like, don't think because that's our second string or third or whatever that they're going to let up. They want to score too. They want to shine too.
Yeah.
So and that's what it was. It's like you took the starters out. So what else did you want us to do?
Yeah.
Just the guys back up behind us are actually good too.
Well, that was a revenge game. That was a revenge game.
It definitely was a revenge game.
Everybody in the Orange Bowl knew that was going to happen.
And you guys kind of changed the course of history because the coach of that Washington team, Rick Neuheisel, is like a national college sports analyst now, and I feel like he never has anything nice to say about Miami because you guys beat him up so badly.
And I see why.
Can't get fair coverage from Neuheisel now.
Yeah, his feelings definitely got hurt that game. So just that was the mindset, period. Everybody wanted to get a chance, the opportunity to shine. So it's like we wanted to give them a chance to get on the field. So we need to create a gap. And then also we wanted to take advantage of our weather. We're playing in Miami, so we always practice at like 2 p.m. It's pretty hot around that time. So we're used to the weather. So we're here naturally. We're going to hydrate. You have guys when you come down in like October, November, coming from up north, they're not used to the humidity here. We're used to it. So by the fourth quarter, they're going to start cramping up. They're going to start moving slower. We're fine. You know what I'm saying? So we took advantage of the atmosphere and the weather conditions here. I feel like back then a lot better than they do. I feel like they want to be in the AC a little bit too much. But be outside. You play outside. Be outside. No need to be in the AC unless it's raining. We didn't have an indoor facility. So we were outside regardless, unless it was like a lightning storm that told us we had to go inside. Other than that, we're always outside.
Yeah.
So I feel like that always worked to our advantage as well, too, is using the atmosphere to our advantage.
We always ask the former players. Everybody knows what's going on. It's been 20 years. We really haven't done much. Last year we were 10-3. What do you think is missing from the outside looking in? What do you think is missing on this team? Because we know back when you guys played, it was constantly us against the world and chip on the shoulder. Those were the quotes you always heard. And I was always around you guys, and I kind of knew it was true. But I don't know if anybody cares anymore. It just seems like it's about how many stars you have and how much money you're getting now.
The thing is, the guys have to become like family. We were like family. I feel like the guys before us were all like family, had each other's back on and off the field. And, they have these NIL deals. And I feel like Cam did some things, I know he bought the O-line, chains, things like that. But like, we didn't have those deals back then. But every Thursday, Clinton Portis took the O-line out to eat in the Grove. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That was a tradition every Thursday. Okay. I didn't go because that was my tradition not to go, but the rest of the O-line went. I rested. But the rest of the O-line would go out to eat every Thursday with Clint, and he took them out with his own scrape-up money, but he made it happen. But that helps build camaraderie. My senior year, Shockey and I and Kyle Kobe, we all lived in the same house, and we had barbecues at the house. The players would come over. Marquise Fitzgerald would help make the food. Ed Reed, Shockey, some of our basketball girls, Shanivia, Broussard, and them, they all came. We all come together. We cooked, so we did things outside of the locker room as a unit. Where I feel like now money can separate people a little bit, but I feel like if you have the bulk of the money, you need to do little gatherings to bring everybody together because that's what we did. They traveled to New Jersey with me. I had Joaquin, Ed Wilkins, Vernon Carey, Marquise, Ed Reed. They all came back home to Jersey with me. And we just did trips
You're
like
from
that.
Jersey?
I'm originally from New Jersey, yeah.
Where?
Woodbury, South Jersey, by like Cherry Hill.
South Jersey. Because I grew up in Newark. That's why I'm so close to Mark Caesar, because he's from Newark. I'm from Newark, and there's a bond when you come from Jersey, but when you come from Newark, it's even a greater bond. It's incredible.
Right. So they all came home to Jersey with me. So we did things in the off season where we hung out. We all, when we went to New Orleans and played in the Sugar Bowl, we all went to where Ed was from and had like the sausage sandwiches, like different stuff from his neighborhood. I know Vernon Carey would go to Chicago and hang out with Jared Payton during off seasons like that. So we did different things. I would go to Joaquin. That first time I had sangria was going to Joaquin's family's house and things like that. So we did things like in each other's space. You know what I mean? So I feel like some of those guys act like they're in the NFL already, and it's like go to work, go home. But no, we hung out outside of there. We would go to a place called GameWorks. Certain nights we were like, with the O-line. Somehow the O-line and the DBs were kind of close. So we always hung out, but then sometimes, the linebackers will catch wind or they'll come, like, different position groups will come. But the O-line and the DBs at that time, for some reason, because I don't understand the dynamic, but those were the two groups that were close.
So your initial thought is there's not a lot of camaraderie. It's kind of like every man for himself, so to speak, and that's got to change.
Well, I know they're trying to change that.
They're trying to change it.
Yeah, because he mentioned Bryant mentioned the thing with Cam Ward. I know Carson Beck has guys over to his house. They had a Super Bowl watch party. So they're and I think Bryant, probably a lot of that has to do with Mario helping these guys understand, like, this is the stuff you guys need to do.
I was going to say, before Mario came, when I was down there and I was talking to the guys and I was asking some questions, right before Mario came, and I was like, do y'all hang out? And I was like, this person's over there. This is like, so it was kind of spread out, like where we hung out, like all of us hung out.
Yeah.
So we hung out and we knew each other. We enjoyed being around each other, and that's going to make you have each other's back even more on the field. And you don't want to be the person to let the group down. So you're going to raise your level of play up. I think Ken Ward did a good job of making these guys raise their level of play up because they didn't want to let him down. So he showed that he was a good leader, because a lot of people's level rose up from one player. And I've seen that happen before when I was in Minnesota, when Brett Favre came to the Vikings. It was the same team. We just added him, but nobody wanted to let him down. The level of play rose up around, and certain people can do that, and I feel like that's a gift. If you look at Tom Brady, he was able to leave New England and go and win a Super Bowl in a whole another place who had the same team and just added him. People don't want to let certain people down, and you can raise your level of play up. So it's in there. You just got to tap into it.
Yeah.
So I'd like to hear about your journey, how you ended up a Miami Hurricane, because you were coming out of high school, you were a little smaller, right? Like you hadn't bulked up.
A lot smaller.
So talk about that and actually going through junior college and finding your way to the U.
I came from a small high school in Jersey called Woodbury High School. Probably had like maybe 90 people graduated, so it wasn't even a big school.
Oh, wow.
Nobody went to the pros from my school like in the 80s or something like that. It wasn't like a thing. I just got discovered because somebody mailed in a tape of our running back. We had a running back named Lamar Sturtevant who was really good. They mailed in the tape to University of Iowa for him, but just so happened when they watched the tape, they said, "Well, who is that?" And they seen me. I'm 6'8", but I'm like 240. So when they came to the school, they asked to see me as well, and they were like, "Hey, it's after National Signing Day, but we are interested for you to come to Iowa. We'll send you to the JUCO in Scranton, Pennsylvania. It was only 2.5 hours away, and you'll learn how to play left tackle." Me, I played defensive end in high school. I'm like, left tackle? I don't know any left tackles. I came from South Jersey, so I was an Eagles fan. So like Reggie White, those people were like, I'm fans of them. I don't know any offensive linemen. And even when I got there, I kind of was like, I don't know if I want to play offensive line. And they're like, no, you'll last longer, this and other. So I stuck with it and I listened. And what's crazy is I had to speak at the school last February, last year. I spoke at the school and to the students, and I didn't. I didn't realize it at the time. Like they made me realize it last year when I spoke at the school. So I came in there never playing offensive line, and I came in, had to learn like the whole weight program, learn the position, being out of left-handed stance, and I made JUCO All-American after my first season.
Ooh,
Of never.
wow.
So like the guys there was like, you never played this position. How did you make it? I'm like, I don't even know. Now I think about
How much weight did you gain from the 240 you came in with?
240. I want to say I got to like around 265. I feel like I was still when I first got to Miami, I was still under 300. I feel like by the time I got to Miami, I might have been like 285, close to like 290.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but I was basically like a blank canvas. Like I had never really had no weight program. So when I got there,
Wow.
my offensive line coach would take me. I would go home after school, do my homework, and he would come pick me up like around 6 o'clock, and we would go to his basement, and we were learning all the fundamentals of bench press, everything. Like I'm now lifting weights, so
Wow.
I had the frame, but now you're starting to add muscle onto it. You know what I mean? So he took the time to do that with me for those 2 years. So I didn't lift weights with everybody else. I went to his house, and we had a one-on-one session of me lifting weights, and it kind of helped develop me. And then yeah, so I'm gonna say about like 40, 45 pounds. And then I went to Miami and I redshirted, so I still was able to gain, some more weight the redshirt year. And then by my junior year there, I was like 330.
Wow.
No.
Yeah.
And I was
That's
330 and I
quite
thought
a
I was
story.
fine. But then I went to, you're out there for the pro day and they're like, oh, you still need to fill out some more. Like the scouts are telling me I still need to fill out some more. I'm like, 330. But I guess it looks different on me when I guess being tall. I don't know.
Yeah.
So then I put on like another like 13 pounds. And so my senior year I was like 343.
Wow.
And then I was fine there, but it was like as you start getting older now on your different weight program, you start adding on like more muscle and things like that. But my journey was it was a good journey. I learned a lot. Like JUCO, you don't have all the like the one thing I learned about JUCO, they said you can't make the club in the tub. So that means you can't make the team being in the training room all the time. So if you ever fun fact, I never missed a game due to injury. I played through a lot of things
Yeah.
because that was something that was always in my mind. Like can't make the club in the sub, so I'm not gonna give nobody opportunity to even even take a snap at my position. So I just never missed. I just played through things, Yeah, even in the league, never missed nothing. Just
Where would you have wanted to go other than Minnesota if you had your choice? The Giants? Were you a Giant?
well
Oh, you were
during
an
the
Eagles
no
fan.
during the time I was an Eagles fan, but I didn't want to be there because I feel like that would be too close. I wouldn't feel like I was away. But during the draft, so I thought I was going to either Buffalo. Not saying I wanted to go there. This is what I thought. Buffalo or San Diego. And I was okay with San Diego because of the weather.
Right.
So Buffalo had number 4, but they took the right tackle, Mike Williams. They later on wrote a story when I was with the Ravens and going to the Super Bowl. Like, we had an opportunity to take it and we didn't because Mike Williams, I think, retired after like 4 to 5 years there. Something.
Yeah.
Something. He didn't stay long. And then I thought I was going to San Diego, but they took Quentin Jammer instead. So they took a DB. So then after that, I was like, okay, Kansas City was after that, and then Minnesota. So I was like, well, Minnesota's probably more likely where I'm gonna be because remember the right tackle, Corey Stringer had just passed away there on that training
Yeah, I
camp.
remember.
So I knew that they were looking for a tackle. So I was like, this is probably where I might end up being. And then you have a quarterback / baseball player in Miami named TJ Prunty. He's from Minnesota, so he the whole time says, "Oh, you're going to Minnesota." Like I feel like he jinxed me because he said that the whole entire time of me getting prepared for the draft, like, "Oh, you'll be in Minnesota. You'll be in Minnesota." I'm like, "Yeah, right." And I ended up in
Did they have
Minnesota.
an indoor stadium when you got drafted? Or was it still an outdoor?
Oh, it was a dome, thank goodness.
Oh, yeah. That's not so bad.
So it was
Then.
always 72 degrees in there, so I wasn't mad at that.
Right. That's why you didn't want to go to Buffalo. They don't have a dome.
Yeah, nah.
Too cold.
Hey, Brian, I want to every now and then I wanted to ask you this, having played on that team in 2001 at Miami, because every now and then online, people trying to stir up these interactions on social media, they'll try to say that like a different team, like LSU 2019 or like a Gators team with Tebow is the best college football team of all time. Like, there's no doubt to me. First of all, I mean, I watched your team with my own eyes, but I also see how many of you guys from that 2001 team went on to the NFL, successful careers, some Hall of Famers in there.
Yeah,
I mean, is there any doubt in your mind you played on the best team in college football history?
I think they just want to have, like, a lot of people just want to have, like, something to talk about. But I think they deep down kind of know, like, if you really look at the lineup and you look what everybody did, even post college, that there was a lot of great players, and a lot of those guys were even backups at the time too. You know what I mean? So it was a lot of great players that was on that team, who were fighting for starting positions, but they were just young at the time. You know, so a lot of those guys could have left and went and started somewhere else, but they still stayed there and just waited their turn. So no, I don't
it's
think.
funny you mentioned that because guys don't do that now. They put their name in the portal and they get the heck out of there. And that doesn't make college football to me now is much different. There doesn't seem to be any loyalty. And I feel bad for Mario. He's a great recruiter, but somebody comes along with $10 more and he loses a kid. That's not good. But so far, he's doing damn well in the portal and in the recruiting trail. Now we have to win.
Yeah, that's the next step, is winning. Hopefully this season is the season where we, get a little further and beat Georgia Tech. Why do we keep having trouble with Georgia Tech?
We don't play them this year, so yeah.
We don't. Okay,
we don't. So we're going to go undefeated then with Georgia Tech not on the schedule. We might be good.
Isn't that hard to believe? It's hard to believe that they stopped this 2 years ago, and then we played them again this past year, and they still stopped it. They played. I don't know what they did. That seems like they outcoach us. They play crap against mostly everybody else, but they beat up.
That's
they raised up for us. It's like, what is going on with Georgia Tech?
Well, I cannot tell you enough, Bryant McKinnie, how much we appreciate the time, and Bruce, of course, appreciating you helping us track down Bryant for this episode. Bryant, thank you so much. And if you have anything you want to promote, if there's anything you're working on or any social media you want fans to know about, go ahead.
I have a charity kickball event March 8th. It's called Kick CF. So I'm hosting it for another foundation. This is my 12th year hosting. Basically, former players, current and former players are on my all-star team, and you raffle to get on the team to play against us, and we play against. Before it used to be the winner of the kickball tournament played us, but now we changed it up a little bit so we can play a little earlier, and fans are still out there to see us play. I have that coming up, and then I have an event May 15th, Thursday, May 15th, called Cocktails and Conversation, and this is my 3rd year doing the mental health awareness panel.
Oh, and another thing, real quick, because my buddy Rudy is helping organize this fishing tournament. You're going to be doing a fishing tournament as well in April.
And that's in April.
Catch. Yeah,
the catch. Yep, I did it last year, and then this year they reached back out and asked me to be a part of that too. So I'll be a part of the catch this year.
So you good fisherman?
I mean, they make it easy for you because I feel like they just do it. You just wheel it in. I feel like they already put the bait out and everything for you. So it's
of course he's a good fisherman. All he has to do is put his hands in the water and grab it.
Yeah, he pulls up a marlin. He's like reach down in the ocean.
Is he a good fisherman?
I mean,
anybody be a good fisherman with a gun.
Well, I don't think that's how he's dropping the dynamite in the water. I don't think that's how he's doing it.
No, that's not how we're doing
the
it.
fishes are coming up in the air and they catch him in the boat.
Well, we appreciate you guys. Yeah, but Bruce, Bryant, thank you guys so much for making time. All of you guys watching and listening, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to Locked On Canes. Bryant McKinnie, thank you so much for joining us. I hope everyone has an awesome rest of your week. And we'll talk to you next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.